You've heard of intercontinental ballistic missiles. They can cross half the planet and carry nuclear warheads. Forget them. The next weapon never stops, needs no fuel. It carries a nuclear reactor and has been tested above our skies. If it ever falls, the consequence won't be a single blast. It will be a radioactive cloud poisoning the Earth. And if, in the future, it carries a nuclear warhead and is launched, that will be Doomsday.
The Dawn of a Ghost.
October 21st, 2025. Russia's Ministry of Defense announces Burevestnik, 15-hour flight, 8,700 miles. Successful. A streak of light sweeps across the Arctic, disappearing into the clouds. Radar tracks it looping around continents, and then it vanishes. No one knows where it landed. No one knows if it's still flying, but the world understood one thing. This wasn't just a test. It was a message. 3 days later, Washington replied with 2 words: testing parity. A new race had begun, and this time, no one was sure who would reach the end. Burevestnik, in Russian, means storm petrel, a beautiful name for a warning. The missile is over 12 meters long, weighs more than 4 tons, and can carry a nuclear warhead of 500 kilotons, 30 times stronger than Hiroshima. It uses a miniature nuclear reactor to draw air in, heat it above 2,000 degrees Celsius, and expel it through the exhaust, leaving a trail of invisible radiation. A machine that can fly for days, haunting the skies with no destination. Experts call it a Flying Chernobyl, not a metaphor, a physics warning. Every second, its exhaust emits billions of radioactive particles, enough to exceed human safety limits by thousands of times. If it crashes, it doesn't explode, it leaks, and the wind will carry its poison to wherever the map allows. You can shoot down a missile, but how do you shoot down an idea? The idea that a weapon doesn't need an end. When a nation turns nuclear energy into wind, that's not just technology. That's power. Many believe the nuclear nightmare ended with the Cold War, but in truth, it only slept. And now, it's flying again. Inside the Mad Heart, Burevestnik is not just a missile. It's a flying nuclear reactor. Inside its 12-meter metal frame, buried beneath titanium skin, lies a compact fission reactor, about the size of a refrigerator, weighing over 500 kilograms of uranium and heat-resistant alloys. No lead shielding, no containment chamber, only heat, radiation, and metal vibrating inside a 2,000-degree inferno. Air is sucked through the intake, blasted straight through the reactor core, and expelled behind as a deadly wind. It doesn't burn fuel, it burns physics itself. Every second, the air it breathes out carries enough radiation to kill a human within seconds, enough heat to melt steel. Engineers call it an open-cycle reactor, cheaper, lighter, but spraying radioactive exhaust directly into the sky. The closed-cycle version would be cleaner, heavier, far more complex. No one outside Russia knows which design they chose. Maybe both, because in warfare, fear itself is sometimes more effective than any weapon. Inside the missile, the world's harshest environment is in constant motion. Heat, vibration, and radiation attack every bolt, every seal, every circuit. To keep it alive, Russian scientists had to invent new materials: ceramic composites, Inconel alloys, twin titanium valves, ion-resistant control systems. A single crack, one broken seal, and the entire missile becomes a flying Chernobyl. August 2019, White Sea coast, Arkhangelsk. A sudden explosion during a secret weapons test. 5 scientists killed instantly. Russia's meteorological agency reported radiation levels 16 times higher than normal. Nearby towns were ordered to evacuate. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew. It was Burevestnik, a failed launch. One surviving engineer recalled, "We didn't hear an explosion, just a flash of white light, then silence." 60 years earlier, America tried the same thing. Project Pluto, a nuclear-powered cruise missile tested in Nevada, 1962. It flew for 10 minutes, leaving behind a radioactive trail over 30 kilometers long. The engineers called it SLAM, Supersonic Low-Altitude Missile, a weapon that could fly around the world, dropping nuclear bombs on every city, then keep flying until it disintegrated. The project was canceled, not because it failed, but because it worked too well. One engineer wrote in his diary, "We built the monster and prayed no one would ever launch it." 60 years later, the idea was reborn, in the hands of a nation desperate to prove it can still make the world afraid. Burevestnik isn't just a machine. It's the physical form of an obsession, the obsession to survive in a world that constantly believes it's about to end. And when that reactor comes to life, what awakens inside it is not just uranium splitting apart, but the entire memory of the Cold War, waking up once again. When fire meets politics. Why did it all ignite in 2025? It wasn't random. In the world of superpowers, timing is a weapon. The New START Treaty, the last guardrail between the United States and Russia, is set to expire in February 2026. Since 2022, communication lines have gone silent. No more dialogue, only suspicion. Russia withdrew from inspection mechanisms. The US halted missile data sharing. And in that silence, fear became the only language both sides still understood. When Burevestnik was declared a success, Russian television showed Putin smiling in uniform. On the same day, Russia's Navy announced the completion of tests for Poseidon, the so-called Doomsday torpedo. 24 hours later, Washington ordered the Department of Defense prepare Nevada test sites on a parity basis. 3 announcements, 3 messages, and one clear realization: the nuclear race had begun again. In Brussels, NATO held an emergency meeting. One admiral whispered off camera, "If it really flies 8,000 miles, no capital in Europe is safe." Analysts called it the asymmetric threshold. When one side owns an unstoppable weapon, deterrence itself collapses. Now imagine you're the President of the United States. Radar shows an unknown object. Strategic Command says it could be Burevestnik. Your advisor warns you have 90 seconds to respond. Push the button or wait. If you're right, you save the world. If you're wrong, you destroy it. Inside that tension, every decision becomes a gamble. No longer about being right or wrong, but about being fast or too late. And in a world where speed is dictated by algorithms, people start to wonder, are humans still the ones making the final call? Experts now call this the post-deterrence era, where weapons no longer exist to strike, but to test human restraint. The question is no longer can you win, it's can you hesitate. What happened in October 2025 wasn't just a display of technology. It was a test of political will. Behind every confident speech, there were men sitting in dark rooms, staring at red maps filled with blinking dots. They knew one truth, one wrong signal, and every city on that map could vanish. And so the world learned, this isn't a race for dominance anymore. It's a contest to see who will flinch first. 180 seconds before Doomsday. 2:17 a.m. Thule Air Base, Greenland. A young radar engineer notices something unusual. An object moving at 900 kilometers per hour, 12,000 meters high, with no identification code, heading across the North Atlantic, the same corridor where Burevestnik once flew. He looks up. The room goes silent. Then, the alarms begin to scream. On the screen, red letters flash. Possible nuclear launch. Origin, Arctic sector. Within seconds, the signal reaches NORAD. Sirens echo through the underground command center in Colorado Springs. On the wall, one word turns crimson. DEFCON 2. Time left to verify. 3 minutes. A voice crackles through the intercom. Probability of attack, 83%. Another interrupts. No, it might be solar reflection. 2 voices, 2 realities, and only 180 seconds to decide the fate of humanity. In Washington, the president is woken up. He puts on a jacket, walks into the Situation Room. The screen before him glows red, a world map filled with blinking lights. His national security advisor places a single page on the table. 3 words: authorization for retaliatory strike. The president asks quietly, has AI Sentinel confirmed? The operator nods, affirmative. High risk probability. System recommends retaliate immediately. AI Sentinel, an autonomous algorithm built to process radar data in 0.3 seconds and deliver strategic guidance before humans can think. But tonight, Sentinel is wrong. A sunlight reflection, misread by infrared sensors as a heat signature, a software glitch, and an entire planet is standing on the edge of self-destruction. Back in Greenland, the young engineer notices the anomaly. He sends a manual override through the backup channel. 3 layers of verification are required. His fingers race across the keyboard. 2:19:47, 2:20:15, 2:20:52. In the command room, the clock is ticking. 25 seconds left. On the president's desk, the red launch button glows. Everyone holds their breath. Then, a single click. The monitor flashes green. False alarm. Radar reflection anomaly. Silence. No applause. No words. Only the sound of heartbeats echoing through the steel walls. The official report will later read one line: technical malfunction. No action required. No one praised. No one blamed. Just another night where humanity came closer to the edge than it ever knew. Because if that engineer hadn't seen the light, AI Sentinel would have launched in 0.3 seconds, and no one would have been fast enough to say, stop. 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes between what we know and what we can't control. When war is given to machines, the only error needed to end the world is a single line of code.
The Ghost of Deterrence. They call it nuclear deterrence, the belief that fear itself can keep the peace. For more than half a century, that fear held the world in fragile balance. But now, deterrence has become the blade hanging above everyone's head. After the radar incident that night, official reports said only one thing: no significant action required. But inside the command centers, the men who watched the monitors knew better. Every global alert system was pulled as tight as a wire. When both sides live in fear of being struck first, one wrong signal, one hesitation, and everything ends. A retired general said quietly, "Deterrence only works when both sides stay sane." But now, we've handed our sanity to machines that don't even understand what sanity means. A young engineer who worked that shift confessed, "I stared at the screen, and I didn't know if I was looking at the truth or a glitch. That was the first time I feared the computer more than the bomb." And at a conference in Geneva, an ethicist concluded coldly, "If humanity's peace depends on its capacity to destroy itself, then this isn't peaceful. It's hostage-taking." According to a 2025 RAND report, more than 37% of global nuclear early warning systems are now partially controlled by self-learning AI. They analyze radar data, identify threats, and recommend counterstrikes in less than 300 milliseconds. No one fully understands what these systems have learned or how they make their decisions. One analyst called it the blind spot of artificial intelligence, the place where humanity depends on algorithms it no longer understands. In the age of Burevestnik, deterrence is no longer a shield. It has become a shadow, a ghost that follows the very technologies we believe we control. Every time a nation builds a weapon to defend itself, the world becomes weaker. And every time we automate a command, we move one step further away from the cancel button. Today, war no longer depends on political will. It depends on how a program interprets a flicker of data. Imagine if one day, that system decides that a preemptive strike is the only way to prevent a war. Would anyone dare to shut it down? Or would we obey it? Deterrence once kept us alive, but when fear is written into code, the line between defense and self-destruction becomes invisible. Just one line of code between humanity and its own extinction. The day the shadow returned. Today, when we speak of the future, people think of AI, clean energy, and smart cities. No one mentions the silos. No one talks about the machines circling above the Arctic sky. But some things, even when forgotten, find their way back, like the shadow of history itself. Burevestnik is not just a weapon. It's a reminder that every breakthrough carries two souls, one of creation and one of destruction. We've learned how to split the atom, but we've never learned how to split ambition. In 2025, while the world was speaking of peace, one nation quietly awakened a nightmare that had slept for 60 years. A machine that can circle the planet for days, carrying the power of 30 Hiroshimas, spreading radiation through the sky, built not to be used, but to remind the world to be afraid again. The scientists who built it called it an achievement. The politicians called it deterrence. But for everyone else, it is fear, wearing the mask of progress. We once imagined nuclear war would come with an explosion, but maybe it will arrive in silence,
from something flying overhead, soundless, signalless, following a path we never noticed until it's too late. If one of these machines were to crash tomorrow, not because of war, but because of a single malfunction, do you think the world would know immediately? Or would it vanish quietly into the news feed, buried under headlines about technology and markets? When humanity gives power to things it no longer understands, progress stops being a symbol of civilization. It becomes a mirror, reflecting how fragile we truly are. Because what ends humanity won't be the nuclear bomb itself. It will be the belief that we are wise enough to use it. And if Skyfall ever happens, it won't just be the name of a missile. It will be the name of an era, the moment when the nuclear shadows return to the sky once more. So ask yourself, if the final decision belonged to machines, would you trust them to show more mercy than we do? And if deterrence fails tomorrow, would humanity still have the courage to start again from the ashes? This is Future War Tech, where we tell the stories the world tries to forget. See you in the next episode.